Hi, everyone. Eddie Martinez here with Rivera Jones Wealth Management. Welcome to another edition of the Tax Corner, a periodic email that goes out to tax professionals with whom we share mutual clients with. Today, I want to cover Medicare brackets or Medicare breakpoints and how income can increase what clients pay for their Medicare premiums. So today we're going to talk about Medicare and how the Medicare premiums for Part B and D are directly affected by MAGI, and how IRMA actually looks back 2 years to see what the MAGI was and determines what the Medicare Part B and D amounts are going to be for the current year. We're also going to talk about how RMD and Roth conversions can affect modified adjusted gross income during retirement. So with that, let me go ahead and look at a base case. So here you have Mr. and Mrs. Smith. They're both married and filing jointly, and both are age 67. They have an AGI of about $150,000, and they're in the 22% tax bracket. Mr. Smith has an IRA balance of about $5 million, so he did pretty good for himself. And we're expecting his RMD, or his required minimum distribution, to be about $200,000 when he reaches age 72, which could dramatically affect his AGI. So in this situation, Mr. and Mrs. Smith want to convert about $80,000. And by doing so, they convert the $80,000 from their traditional IRA. It would be seen as income, and then it'd be converted into a Roth IRA. By doing so, their AGI would increase from about $150,000 to $230,000. So what are the tax implications of that? Well, if they do convert the $80,000 this year, their MAGI will go up to about $230,000. It'll put them into a 24% tax bracket, and that's something they're okay with. One thing they're not sure about is how that would affect their Medicare premiums. So let's take a look at that. But before we do, let's look at IRMA, which is the income-related monthly adjustment amount. And what IRMA does is that it looks back 2 years prior to see what their MAGI was. It has a 2-year look back. So the Medicare premiums for 2022 are actually based on the MAGI from 2020. So let's look at these Medicare brackets. Now, these are brackets for married filing jointly. And remember, these brackets are for modified adjusted gross income, not taxable income. So the first bracket is $182,000 or less. So as long as their MAGI is below this number, they won't pay anything extra for Medicare Part B and Part D. But you can see, just going slightly over these amounts, getting into the second bracket or the third bracket, by the time you get to the third bracket, you're almost doubling your cost. You're paying $340 for Medicare Part B premiums, and you're paying $98 for Medicare Part D premiums. So what does that look like? Well, for Mr. and Mrs. Smith, if they do convert $80,000, that's going to take them from that first Medicare bracket 2 years from now, and they're actually going to be in this third bracket. So you can see what they're actually going to be paying per year in Medicare for Medicare Part B and D is $10,000 or $10,517. That's almost double what they were paying when they were in the first bracket. Now you can see how quickly that could increase. Once you get into the higher Medicare bracket, that cost can almost triple from what you were paying before. You could see that increase almost has a 292% increase in just what they're paying for Medicare Part B and D if they fall into this third bracket. Well, this was unacceptable to Mr. and Mrs. Smith. They don't want to pay 1 penny more than they have to for Medicare, but they're still interested in doing a Roth conversion to help with R&D in the future. So what do we suggest? Well, we actually suggest that they have a little bit of room in their modified adjusted gross income this year. So they could actually convert up to $32,000 this year. Now, by doing so, they're going to remain within this first Medicare bracket of $182,000 or less MAGI, and they're not going to pay a penny above what they have to for their Part B and Part D premiums. So what's the recommendation? Well, the recommendation changes. Instead of converting the $80,000 and getting this huge surprise 2 years from now for their Medicare bills, instead they're going to convert $32,000 and they're going to stay within the first Medicare bracket, just under that $182,000. And they're also going to stay within a 22% tax bracket. And the best part about it is that there's going to be no increase to their Medicare premiums. So to summarize, we went over how RMD and Roth conversions can affect MAGI during a client's retirement years, and how Medicare Part B and D premiums are directly affected by a client's MAGI. And we also learned about IRMA, and how IRMA actually has a 2-year look back, which looks back to 2020 to determine what their MAGI was, which will determine what they pay for Medicare Part B and Part D premiums in 2022. So it's always good to plan for the future so that there's no surprises. And remember, no surprises means happy clients. I'd like to thank you all for watching. Feel free to contact us if you or your clients have any questions about income, IRMA, and how that may affect your Medicare premiums. Until next time, stay well and take care.